Welcome, everybody. Today's lesson is Dream a Little Dream of Me. It is Monday. We are in Book 278, 150 more of the most beautiful songs ever, and it is on page 82. Today I have a preset sheet. Now, the preset sheet is there to help you learn some things about your instrument. If you don't want one of those or you don't have a way to make presets, don't worry. You can pick a rhythm and go, and you can add some things by adding a harmony or adding some strings and make your song sound fabulous with just some simple one button pushes. And as we were discussing before we started recording, we're going to make our changes every 8 measures. Oh, here comes Jean from Wisconsin. All right, every 8 measures is where we're going to make our changes. And I'll let you know that when we go through and I tell you where the changes are going to be. I already had my first question. What if I don't have jazz guitar? Jazz guitar is the rhythm that I have chosen on Dream a Little Dream, and it happens to be in your guitarist section. Your guitarist section. If you don't know if you have it, go to your style list and look for jazz guitar. For those of you with the Imperial on down, you can use jazz shuffle, works very well. Jazz club also works very well. And for those of you that have the signature background for Dream a Little Dream, just go ahead and use it. You guys are lucky. Dream Kiss, if you have it, works. Satin Lady works very well. Theater Romance works very well. And for those of you on the smaller instruments, by the way, I have a note here that says Jazz Shuffle number 4. Rhythm preset number 4. And then take your Orchestra Plus off. For those of you who are on the smaller instruments, it's going to be traditional guitarist.
Yeah, and it's in my Lowry Easy 4 as a
Yeah,
hidden thing.
yeah. So if you've got
So,
the song set up, that's what you use. Absolutely. You can use some of the things that I've got here, but finding that background is always the most important thing. Always work left to right. This one you can use quite a few backgrounds. I'm going to play my rendition of Dream a Little Dream, and I want you to listen for what I'm doing to make some changes. Listen for things in the background. Listen for things in the melody. Listen for the drums. Listen for the bass. Listen for things that are happening. This song was 1931. It was first recorded by Ozzie Nelson and his orchestra. I didn't know he had an orchestra. I just thought he was Ozzie and Harriet, you know? And then it was recorded by Wayne King and his orchestra with vocals by Ernie Burchell. The song has over 400 recorded versions. That's how popular it is. Kate Smith, this was one of her early signature songs. In 1950, there were 7 recordings. 7. Frankie Lane was one of them, Jackie Owens, Ella Fitzgerald, Vaughn Monroe, Dinah Shore, Louis Armstrong, Nat King Cole. Doris Day had a really pretty version of this, Joni James and Dean Martin. Then came 1968. That's a long way from 1931. That's when the Mamas and the Papas decided to do a recording of this. And this was what was funny. They really, the way they chose to do this, they had been singing this song just for fun because Michelle Phillips' father was friends with the composer. So they used this song for a warm-up song, just to sing, just for fun. And they ended up recording it in one of their sessions just for fun. And they would always do things like, and now announcing, just like it was the 1930s, and now announcing on your vocals, Cass Elliot. And then she'd come out and she'd pretend like she was singing in the 1930s. So they did it all for fun, and it turned out to be one of their biggest hits. So I'm going to play it using jazz guitar at 86 beats a minute. I'm going to start with intro number 2. Intro number 2. So here's what it sounds like. Oops, I messed that up. There we go. Then press ending 2.
So you started out with intro 2?
Yep, and I ended with intro 2.
That's what I thought. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Okay, so every 8 measures is where I was making changes. So you want to start with A1 at the beginning. Line 2, end of measure 2, right between Dream a Little Dream of Me and Say Nighty Night. Right there, you want to go to A2. I'm sorry, you're correct. Did I say line 2? No, okay, it's line 3. I'm sorry, it's every 8 measures.
Well, I was looking for, you said nighty night, and I thought, where is that?
Yeah, no, it's in line 3.
Okay. So that was A2.
That's A2, yep. A2, not A4, that's A2.
Mhm.
I did make another change there, but it was within the one that I was in. All right, now we're going to go another 8 measures, and we're going to go to the top of the next page. Line 1, 1, 2, 3. At the end of measure 3, right before stars fading, a 3 and a 6. A 3 and a 6. Nope, I'm not doing upper and lower changes. I don't think I ever went to the lower keyboard.
No, you didn't.
Aha, somebody noticed. Now we're going to go to the next 8 measures. So line 3, get it right this time. 1, 2, 3 at the end of the 3rd measure, right before Sweet Dreams Till Sunbeams. That's A4 and A7.
Wow.
A4 and A7. All right, now you're going to go to the end of the song, and you're going to put A5 and A8 at the end of the song. Now
At
you're
the
going
very
to put, go ahead, Barb.
I said, I'm sorry, at the end of the very end, the last measure?
Very end of the song, the last measure, you're going to put A5 and A8. Okay, all right, so now A5, what you're going to have is you're going to put 2 dots. You're going to put your repeat dots, because I played the whole thing twice, right?
I
Right.
thought you did.
So now you're going to want to take your color and make those dots. So the first time you're going to do A5 and go all the way back to the beginning. Okay. Now, I did make a change the second time through. I did not change presets. What did I push? I did a 1-button push. I could have changed presets.
You changed some sound there.
Yep, not really. Didn't change the sound. We'll talk
Okay.
about it. We'll talk about it. But that's what happened. I was in the same preset. Let's go to the end of the song again. Play them both pages. And when I get to the end of the song, A8, you are going to put DS. DS. Dal segno. Go back to the silly sign. Where the heck is the silly sign? Just go back 2 measures. 2 measures. And put your silly sign by the G, and you're just going to repeat the last 2 measures. You're just going to play them slower. Dream a little dream of me. You're going to play some extra notes. And I wrote those notes in the margin. That's why I said, oops, I really messed this one up. Yeah, because I forgot that the second time I'm playing the extra notes. And I could have written a whole nother sheet for you with the ending notes. You can play exactly what's here and be fine. Or your extra notes are, the first 4 are good. D, E, G, A, those are good. Then you're going to go from the B flat up to an E flat, back to a B flat. B flat, E flat on the top space, back to the B flat. Bum, bum, bum. And then the A, you're going to go up to the D, which is the 4th line, and come back to the A. And then the last G is good. And I just wrote my notes in the margin down here, and that's why I forgot to play them.
Dawn, when are you doing those 4 notes?
Pardon?
When are you doing those 4 notes? Is that A8?
End of the song. The second time you play it. Now
Okay.
you don't. I'm doing A8 DS. Go back to the
Yeah.
silly sign. It's actually
Yeah.
DS all fine because it's also fine. But you're going to press ending too. So you're going to just go back 2 measures and repeat those 2 measures. And then press ending 2.
Okay.
Because that's
Thank
how
you.
he sings it.
Don,
Yeah.
you said, by A8, put, DS and then alphabet, fine, whatever, to the silly sign. Where's the silly
The
sign?
silly sign is, you have to write it in. Just go
Okay.
back. It's line 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 at the end of the 2nd measure, beginning of the 3rd measure. You're just repeating the last 2 measures of the song.
Okay.
And if you don't want to play those extra notes, just play the notes that are there. You can slow it down if you wish, and then press ending 2.
You can do it too.
Or you can skip that whole thing and skip A8 altogether and just press ending 2 and be done. And that would be fine too.
Okay, silly sign. You said the whole page, and then the second page, the second measure, put the silly sign.
Last line.
Oh, the last line.
Last
Okay,
line. You're
that line.
only repeating 2 measures. The last 2 measures of the song down here.
That's where I put them.
Okay.
Okay,
Don't put a silly sign up here. You want the silly sign way down here. You're
okay,
just repeating the last 2 measures. I'll play the whole song again.
Okay.
I am adding some extra chords. But the first thing we want to talk about is what kind of changes did I do? And those of you that have the presets, you can read exactly what they are. I first started by turning some things off. I turned off when you're on the guitarist. Now, those of you that are going to a jazz shuffle, if you're going to be making these presets, you have to remember that you have to add, and I'm going to tell you what you have to write in here. On A1, you're going to have to add drums volume to 0. Because when you go to, let me just do that, jazz shuffle, oops, I should have, let's freeze the tempo. Let's go to a jazz shuffle. Let's go to number 4. Turn off the orchestra plus. You're going to have to take your drums volume to 0.
Is that for everybody?
That's only if you don't have a jazz guitar
Oh,
and you want to use your jazz shuffle.
what did you say that tempo was, Don?
Tempo is 86.
Okay.
You said 20, and I'm thinking 20? That sounds loud.
Oh, no, down to 0, down.
0.
Take your drums out. So when you start, this is I'm sorry, that's not right either. Jazz, shuffle, number 4, take off orchestra plus to bring your drums to 0. Yeah, that works. Yes, I did. Mr. Kelly heard that I did a string of ad-libbing.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Let's go through and do the changes first, and we'll get to that. So A1, you're just taking stuff off. Now, somebody asked me once, I think it was Susie, about dynamic keying. What if I don't like it to be on? Normally, that's going to come on your larger instruments when you have a piano or when you have a guitar, so that you can express yourself by how hard or how soft you hit your sound. Okay? If you want it off, make sure that you turn it off, and then you won't have to worry about that. So that's your choice. That's why I have your choice. Turn it on, turn it off. Wherever you put it, it's going to stay there for the rest of the piece. When you get to A2, which is line 3, second measure, end of the second measure, now you're going to put the orchestra plus back on. So you're going to have more stuff going on. It just gives there more stuff. Lower tabs. All right. I'm going to turn on my lower genius and my strings. And then to my upper tabs, I'm going to add some strings. Now,
Don,
when you, go ahead.
What did you say? Turn off the lower genius or turn on?
On
Is-
A2, you
Yeah.
have this. I did scan this to you, so you should have it.
Oh, okay, all right.
It'll tell you. Yeah.
Okay.
Number 3, top of page 83. So when we get to that bridge, stars fading, but I linger on, dear. When we get to that, what are we going to do? Now let's get some drums in there. Yeah, we're going to put some drummers in there. So what else are we going to do? I'm going to change my genius, which was a guitar, or my sound. I'm going to change the sound to some vocal oohs. So the rest of the mamas and the papas are coming in to back her up. Ooh, and they're backing her up in the background. So I'm going from this, just a couple of strings. Now I'm going to put the vocal oohs in there. Can you hear the difference?
Yep.
All right, so how do you change that? How do you change that sound? Two ways. I can just bring it up in the, actually there's more than two, but those are the two easy ones. I can just bring it up in the screen by turning it off, touching it again by turning it back on, then it shows up in the screen. Scroll until you get to vocal ooh. And scrolling is fun because you can see all the rest of the stuff that's in there. But if you don't want to go through that, you go to your keypad. Go to your keypad and you go to 4, 7, 7. Here it is. You got to put it someplace. So now you're going to put it in the lower sound. Just touch it, and all of a sudden, there it is. That's the easy way to do it. Those of you that have smaller instruments, if you want to add those vocal oohs in your lower, find your lower. Easy for us, it's right over here. And you want to just turn on the ensemble. Let me see what's on this one. Where's your lower? Oh, it's there. Yeah, it's on the lower panel. You've got 3 buttons, and if you just find where your vocal ensemble is, you can have it queued up ready to go, so that all you have to do is push it. Of course, if you're making your presets, doesn't matter. You can find it. It'll be there for you. All right, so we're going to play that whole. We're going to add some vocals up here as well. No, we're not. We're just going to keep it down here. My bad. So we're going to change to adding those oohs. All right, when we get to A4, where's A4? A4 is in line 3 on the second page, end of the third measure. Now we're going back to the A section. So I'm actually going to press A2, but I'm going to keep the drums up. So I'm going to press A2 so it goes just back to this. And takes out my vocal oohs and it goes back to everything else. And I'm just going to make sure my drummer goes up to the top. So I'm just going back to that. A5, here's the one that's a little bit controversial. A5 goes back to the beginning. What did I do? I'm pressing rhythm preset or vintage number 8, which is a piano. A piano. Okay. If you also have big band number 8 would have been a piano. So that's all you're looking for. Find a preset that has a piano in it and make sure you just have a piano. But I'm changing up the background. First of all, I want you to listen to how the background changes. That's a jazz shuffle right there. You can play the whole song on that. That happens to be the jazz guitar alter style. Is exactly the same as jazz shuffle. So you can play the whole song on that if you want. But I'm just playing it the second time on my alter style just to change it up a little bit. But what did I do to the top?
Make it.
Fake it. First 8 measures, I just did a fake it. For those of you that don't have fake it, come and see me after class and I'll be happy to get you into an instrument that has it. Don't worry about it. If you don't have, I've got Mr. Kelly screaming in the background here. If you don't have fake it, change it to a piano, and just play the melody, what's there. Just play what's there. No biggie. No biggie. So when I got to line 3, measure 2, I just turned my fake it off. Just turned my fake it off. Then the second 8 measures, I played the melody with the piano. You could do the whole thing on just your piano, or if you want, you can even go to a lower keyboard, but you could have just played the whole thing on a piano with no fake it. But for those of you that have it, we forget to put it in. And this is a really nice song to just try noodling, because you're not doing a fast noodle. It's not one of these. You're just doing a nice little jazz, a little jazz noodle. What does the sound do? Nothing. It's the same sound. It's the piano sound, and all Fake It is doing is playing because I'm on jazz guitar, it's playing a predetermined pattern that follows the chords that I'm playing. And I'm not using a black key. This one, I think the Liberty's the first one that does that, where if you hold down a black key, it just goes. You want something to be just nice and slow, and a nice, slow jazz piano. Fake it, just a little bit of improvising. I don't know how to improvise very well, so this works pretty well. Leave some air in between. Just do little phrases. Like every 2 measures, I'm going to make sure it breathes. So you're just doing a little jazz noodle. It gives us a chance to practice with it, because a lot of us have the fake-its and we're not using it. So this is an opportunity for you to try. And if you don't like it, set it up, turn your fake-it off. It's okay.
How many measures do you play that fake it?
How many what?
Measures do you play that fake
First
it?
8 measures.
First 8.
First
Okay.
8, yep. And then
Thank you.
then the second time, when you get to where A2 is, you just want to turn your fake it off, and it's just a 1-button push, and now you play the melody the second time.
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah. And the rest of the song is basically the same as the first. The only thing I'm doing is turning it to alter style, so that you're playing the same sounds that I used the first time, but on alter style. So really, that's the only difference I'm doing. First time I play the song is on regular. Second time I play the song is on alter style. I'm not doing a lot of changing. I'm adding the vocal ooze at that bridge. That's probably the biggest thing that I'm doing as far as adding a sound. So it just keeps it nice and simple. And remember, sometimes you start by taking things away. Sometimes you take out the bass. Usually I leave the bass in. Take out the drummer. Take out the orchestra plus. Sometimes you turn off the lower tabs. Just so you have something really, really basic to start. Okay, how are we doing on time? Oh, we're good. All right, let's do extra chords, and then I'll play it again, and then you can listen for where all the changes go. The G chord is good where it is. The E flat, you may put a 7 on it. The D7 is good. The G is good. By the way, E flat 7 is D flat and E flat, the 2 black notes. Line 2, the E7 is good for 2 counts. Beat 3 over the F, put a B minor 7 flat the 5th. If you don't have that, put a D minor, or if you don't want to play that. Your notes for B minor 7 flat 5 are B butterfly, D dinosaur, F fish, and A alligator. And it's only for 1 count anyway, so talk about super optional. They can be, but if you don't play it in this order, if you put the B on top, it's going to be a D minor 7, or I'm sorry, a D minor 6, which is going to sound, it's going to sound okay. And then beat 4 over the E, go back to an E or an E7. So that's how optional that chord is. You can totally skip it and be done. Yep, that's Kelly saying, yep. Second
Oh,
measure, the,
Dawn, I'm
go
sorry.
ahead.
You said B flat minor 7 flat the 5th. Is that over the F for love? And then
Yes.
or you could use a D minor and then
Correct.
go back to what?
E7. Elephant 7 over the E.
Okay.
No, an E, elephant.
Yeah, okay.
On the F, it's a B minor 7 flat 5th, or it's a delta minor. It's a dinosaur. It's not a delta. A minor is good for 2 counts. You may put an A minor 7 over the G for singing. The C minor, make it a C minor 6. If you play it in a different order, it's an A minor 7 flat the 5th. It's actually easier to play the C minor 6 because your hands are still here. If you're playing this in this root C to C position, it's A minor, then an A minor 7, and then if you add the E flat, it's a C minor 6.
So what are the notes for that?
C, E flat, G, A. It's an A minor 7 adding an E flat is all it is. It's actually an easy progression. C minor 6. And if you play it in a different order, it's going to be an A minor 7 flat 5. Always check your window to tell you which chord you're actually on. All right, the G chord in line 3 is good for 2 counts. Beat 3 over the B, A7. The D7 is good for the whole measure. The G is good for the whole measure.
Okay.
But the E flat can have a 7, which would be D flat, E flat. The D7 is good. The last line, the G is good for the whole measure. The E7 is good for 2 counts. Here we go again. Beat 3 can be a B minor 7 flat the 5th, or a D dinosaur minor for 1 count. And then beat 4 is an E7, elephant 7. Or just play E7 for the whole measure. Who cares? The A minor is good for 2 counts. Beat 3 over the G, you may make it an A minor 7. And again, those are always optional. And if you're noticing, this 8 measures is the same as the first 8 measures. Yeah, funny how that works. Top of the page. The C minor, you can put a 6. C minor, 6. C, E flat, G, A. The G is good for 2 counts. Cross out the D and replace it with C minor, chicken minor, or C minor 7 for 1 count. And then over the A, now put your D dinosaur or dinosaur 7 back in. And the G is good for the last measure of this section. Now we go into the bridge. The E flat is good for 2 counts. Beat 3 over the C for fading. Put a C minor, chicken minor. C and E flat. Second line, the B flat is good for 1 measure. You may play B flat 7 if you want. A flat, B flat. The E flat is good for 2 counts. Over the C, beat 3 for craving. C minor, chicken minor. Then the B flat or B flat 7 is good for the whole measure. Now we have another E flat for 2 counts. Beat 3 go back to your chicken minor, C and E flat. So this is really not a hard section. This section's pretty easy. Third line, B flat or B flat 7, A flat, B flat. E flat is good, and the D7 is good. Now, I did add some extra notes there. What did I do just saying this? C, B, A, and you can hold on to the D or not. So you're just going to do some quarter notes coming down. D, C in the third space. This is for the right hand now. B on the third line, and A in the second space. D, C, B, A. D7 is good, yes. The G is good. Next line, the E flat, you may put a 7 on it. D flat, E flat. The D7 is good. The G is good for an entire measure. And if you notice, we're just repeating what we did in the first 8 measures. The E7 is good for 2 counts. Here's your bonus, your extra optional bonus chord. B minor 7 flat the 5th, or D minor. So you can play B butterfly, D dinosaur, F fish, A alligator. Or or D minor. And then beat 4, go back to an E7. So it's only for 1 count, so no worries. Last line, the A minor is good for 2 counts. Beat 3, you can put in an A minor 7. Next measure, the C minor can be a C minor 6. C, E flat, G, A. The G is good for 1 measure. The D, cross it out and replace it with C minor, chicken minor, or C minor 7 for 1 count. And then the D7 goes back over the A for beat 4, and you end on a G. Fun song to play, just a nice song. All right, I'm going to play it again. I want you to listen for the changes. Listen for the changes. Start with intro 2. Now, if you're not using jazz guitarist, if you're using jazz shuffle, try them both and see which one you want and then write it in. And you're going to start with a G because we're in the key of G. Add some strings. Now we go to the bridge, add some drums. Here we go to the fake it. Turn fake it off. Same sound. vocal ooze on the bottom. Going back 2 measures. Ending 2.
Okay,
Yes.
Very pretty.
Huh?
Very pretty.
very nice.
Very nice.
B flat, E flat, B flat, A, D, A, and then end on the G. Yep. Yeah. So it just gives you a little bit something different to do. And I do have fingering for most of you as well if you want it. If you don't need it, that's a wonderful thing too. Questions?
You said vocal ooze on the bottom, and that was on line 3.
That
Right.
was vocal ooze is for your bridge, which is your stars fading.
Wait a minute. Okay.
Stars fading is where your vocal ooze go on the bottom. So when you're listening to YouTube and you hear some vocal backgrounds like ooh, ooh, and we're going to get this on Wednesday when we do the association, Never My Love, we're going to have a lot of that stuff going on. All right. So if you put it in your lower chord, you've got all those oohs in harmony because you're playing the chord. So you don't always have to have your singers for your on top because they're not always doing the melody. They're doing the supporting oohs. So your supporting oohs can go down here. Any other questions? Nice song. Next week we will do Easy Living. What year was that?
I know.
37?
Holy smokes.
Okay. Your grandparents will know it. I'm sure it's a beautiful song because the title of the book says so. It's 150 of the most beautiful songs. All right, you guys. If you don't need fingering, thank you so much for coming. Stay warm. Hopefully it's going to get warmer this week in Florida. Hopefully it gets warmer where you are. Of course, you still have a month or two of winter left. Hate to tell you. Here we go. Here we go with
Don,
fingering.
before you do, here's
Yeah.
just for the record.
Yeah.
As of today, there's 57 more days until the first day of spring.
Wow.
I'm not counting, am I?
Yeah. Wow.
Feeling, right?
Don, Don,
Yeah.
just, I'm sure this is right because, again, when you say Vin, you're talking about there's 2 organ or.
Correct. There's 2 lines. There's 2
Right.
lines of organs. Yes. Rhythm preset for you, Bill, is called normal. You have a rhythm. It's rhythm preset here. You've got normal and you've got organ.
Okay,
So when it's rhythm, it's when you have an RP. That's for all the A organs, which would be you, and it's the normal. Vintage is when you're in an E organ, an inspire and up, and they have presets for the E organs, which is style setup, SSU, and they also have vintage, which is the exact same ones as rhythm preset normal here.
okay. All right.
Okay?
you.
Yes, that's a good question. Also, when I use things like red orchestrals, which I didn't on here, but I will on Wednesday, when it says red orchestrals, if you are on an E organ, there aren't any red orchestrals. Red orchestrals are everybody else. But when you've got an E organ and you've got orchestral 1, orchestral 2, they're actually like tan buttons. And then solos are blue. So I'm trying to get the verbiage so that each organ owner can understand. And now with the new MK5000, I'm going to end up doing new preset sheet.
It's a whole new ball of wax.
It's a whole new ball of wax, absolutely. Yep, but how much fun is that? Absolutely.
Yes, for sure. It's amazing.
Absolutely. Yep. All right, you guys. Here we go with fingering. G3, F sharp 2, G3, F sharp 2, E1, G3, F sharp 2, G3, F sharp 2, G3, F sharp 2, E1, G sharp 3, B5, G sharp 3, F2, E1. So far, nothing hard. Pretty easy stuff. A4, G3, A4, G3, E1, A4, G3, E flat can be 1 or 2, whichever finger gets there first, G3. All right, now we're going to have to do a tuck under. D1, E2, G3, A1 with a circle. There's another way to do it. You can tuck under the 2 if you want, but I think this way is easier. So A1, B2, E5, D4, G3. You can put a little check mark there if you want. G3, F sharp 2, G3, F sharp 2, E1, G3, F sharp 2, G3, F sharp 2, G3, F sharp 2, E1, G sharp 3, B5, G sharp 3, F2, E1, A4, G3, A4, G3, E1. Top of the page, A4, G3. E flat can either be 1 or 2, whichever finger plops there first, G3. D1, E2. Now if you want to do a tuck under here, you can, but the easiest way is to do G3, A4, B flat 5, A4, G3. That's the easiest way. Just go right up, come right back down. You just got to stretch a little bit in between the fingers. High E flat 5, C3, E flat 5, C3. Second line, B flat 2, G1. This B flat, you might want to put an arrow on it. Make it either a 4 or a 5 so you can reach all the way down to that C with your 1. D2. E flat can either be 4 or 5. C3. E flat 5, C3, B flat 2. Of course, that E flat up there can also be 4. If you want to play the E flats with the 4, if that's easier for you, go ahead. Same thing in the next phrase. E flat 4 or 5, C3, A flat 4 or 5, C3. Next line, B flat 2, G1. B flat can either be 4 or 5. Put an arrow on it. This is the one you want to make sure you get one of those 2 fingers on it so you can stretch all the way down with your thumb. C1. D2. High E flat 4 or 5. B flat 2. C3. D4. And then you're going to just walk down C3, B2, A1. Those are the notes we wrote in. If you want to hold on to the D, you may. Or just play them separately. Then do a little check mark. G3, F sharp 2, G3. F sharp 2, E1. G3, F sharp 2, G3. F sharp 2, G3. F sharp 2, E1. G sharp 3, B5. G sharp 3, F2, E1. A4, G3, A4, G3, E1, A4, G3, G3, I'm sorry, E flat can be 1 or 2, G3, D1, E2, G3, A4, B flat 5, A4, G3. The second time you play it, if you want to do, you're going to have to do a thumb tuck. 1, 2, 3, tuck. You can figure that out for yourself if you feel like playing those extra notes. Just have to do a little thumb tuck in there. Okay. Fun song.
Yes.
Yeah. Fun song.
Let's see.
All right. Next
Ma'am?
week, easy living. Any questions?
Nope.
Nope. Have fun. If you have questions in the process, you know who to email, you know who to call. I'm here for you.
Thank you, Don.
Thanks, Don.
You guys are
Thanks.
awesome.
You're awesome. Thank you.
Bye, Don.
Thank you. Bye.